Well, Pierce back on fire. Let me see if we get some people in the room. Damn, my cigarette went out. What up, YouTube? What up? It's late. Shoot, I gotta go to bed. Damn, I think I got some old stuff. Like, share, subscribe, leave a comment, hit that like button. Paris, France on fire again. This just don't make no sense. Hundreds arrested and dozens of police injured after the Champions League riots in France. A total of 219 people have been injured in clashes between football fans and police across France after Paris Saint-Germain won the Champions League final against Arsenal. 8 were in serious condition. Interior Minister Laurent Nunez said thousands of officers were deployed to curb unrest that disrupted bus, train, and rail services in the capital, Paris. 57 of them were injured. Nunes said 780 people have been arrested over the violence, with more than 450 people in custody. A person was found dead after an accident on Paris. Hey, Yo. God bless you too. A person was found dead after an accident on Paris Ring Road, which rioters tried to block overnight. Some 6,000 police have been mobilized for Sunday's victory celebrations, which began at the Eiffel Tower. Scenes around Paris landmark appeared jubilant and peaceful as the parade got underway. PSG players and staff toured the Champ de Mars next to the Eiffel Tower, then attended a reception by corrupt leader. This me saying that Emmanuel Macron, who is a stark Satanist. Anyway, at Elise Palace, later celebrations are planned at the clubs. And they done told Paris up. And then they got all them damn migrants over there. They done told Paris up again. PSG's Champions League victory causes chaos in Paris, with 45 arrested and fires set all across the city. At least 45 people were arrested on Saturday after celebrations. Police detained dozens of people as crowds gathered across the French capital. Look at this. Just setting fires. According to authorities, a group of individuals attempted to storm a police station in the French capital. The Paris police said some people vandalized shops, set fires, torched vehicles during the unrest. A bakery and a restaurant were damaged during the disturbance. Look at this shit. Mm. Authorities said a crowd briefly blocked the main ring road surrounding the city before police dispersed the gathering. One police officer was injured, according to police. Violent celebrations followed the win. After the club won the title last year, 201 people were injured in Paris and more than 500 were arrested. Oh, this is just something they do, act a fool. 200 hurt in post game violence. I asked Paris locals what tourists would skip. Paris is one of those places people dream of visiting. I even want to go there. Their whole lives strolling along the Seine River, snacking on the pastries, the baguettes. You know, you can get them down in New Orleans. They are so good. Those are French. And savoring the joy de ville. Millions of travelers made a reality in 2025, helping make France the most visited country worldwide. Jay Swanson, creator of Paris in My Pocket travel guide and author of memoirs and writer, here are the time tested favorites of where to visit. The Eiffel Tower, of course, that's number one. I'm trying not to read all this shit. Let me see. Oh, visit the Louvre. Oh, once in a lifetime trips to Musée de Louvre. If you're going to do it, especially if you're first time, plan on being there for no more than like an hour and a half or 2 hour tops. Oh, it's a museum. Yeah, all the stolen artifacts. 1611. What does that mean? I don't know what that means, Devontae. Where else to go? Notre Dame is worth seeing, reopened to the public in December 2024 after a devastating fire. Of course, the Eiffel Tower, yeah. And the Sacre is worth a visit. The Basilica de Cour. Oh, that's a church. Okay. They say the Arc de Triomphe is really, really worth its view. What is that? What is that? Oh, it's filled with international chain shops, fast food restaurants. There are some luxury shops on and near Champ Eloise. Every single one of them has a branch somewhere else in the city that's less busy. Visit the Arc de Triomphe right above the metro. The Arc is open daily. All right, let's get into these videos. They done fucked Paris up again. Where's my? Here we go. Here we go. Paris on fire. And the world is watching. What should have been a celebration after PSG's Champions League victory has descended into violence across France. More than 800 arrests, hundreds injured, police officers attacked, cars burned, businesses destroyed, a teenager stabbed, entire streets turned into battlegrounds. And this wasn't a war. This is the result of decades of mass immigration. Decades of failed integration. Decades of leaders refusing to put their own people first. But anyone who spoke up was attacked, silenced, mocked. Now the consequences are impossible to ignore. Paris, the city of cathedrals, the city of kings, the city that helped shape Western civilization, reduced to scenes that would have been unthinkable a generation ago. And with the World Cup approaching, expect more. Because this is what happens when leaders abandon their national identity. Facts. Borders become meaningless. When assimilation becomes optional. Facts. Paris is no longer a warning. Paris is the result. The question now is simple. Will the rest of the West learn from France? Or will we follow the same path? God bless Paris. is burned. Facts. That is a fact. All that immigration. You got people coming over who don't know the laws. Man, here go my man Nick Shirley. Streets of Paris are literally on fire. Now everyone's joining in. Everyone in that street signs are getting taken down. Streets of Paris are being set to play right now. They're digging out the box to throw out the police. Now he's throwing the rock. The old lady's running. Old ladies are running out of here. Police are moving in. Police are moving in. Police are moving in. Right there in the street. Those aren't even rocks, they're freaking stones. They're coming out of the ground. Where's Waldo here in the middle of this protest? Is this protest good or bad? The protest is good. There's a victim of one of the glass bottles being thrown and ricocheted off the walls. Whoa. I can't even hear. This guy he doesn't know anything can just happen to him. Look, you have your source in here. Oh, not the trigger. I can't see anything. Can't see anything. Streets of Paris are literally on fire. Now everyone's joining in. Everyone in the map. Street signs are getting. And then you got all that mass migration there. They just tearing it up again. Paris on fire again. After winning a game. Is the Eiffel Tower burnt? Oh no, that's just. Was they trying to set the Eiffel Tower on fire? These are all the migrants they let in. Mhm. Open borders. Wake up, America. This happening now in Paris. I'm keeping these videos. Now we getting into old news with France of this corrupt leader Macron. They always protesting. This Macron against the union. There. This is an old protest. They always protesting in Paris. This is against Macron's trade policies. Mass protests broke out across France over President Macron's planned austere measure. Trade unions called for a national day of protest against the budget cuts. They don't play when they protest in Paris. I, but we protest ICE to get illegal criminals up out of here. We dumb as fuck. Americans is dumb.
The government needs to understand that we are fed up with austerity, that there are real measures that need to be taken to save France. But these aren't the ones that need to be taken against workers. These are measures that need to be taken at the government level and the savings that need to be made. We organized a picket line at 5:30 this morning to denounce the government's contempt for workers, because in fact, workers are currently so despised by this government and by Mr. President Macron that, in fact, it can't continue like this. It's contempt for public services. It's contempt for hospital workers. It's contempt for Paris public transport workers, for French National Railway Company workers. As soon as you're a worker in France, in fact, you're despised.
Mm.
Yes, of course, I support them striking workers.
Think about it. The government, hey Jet, hey Jet Pop. One thing about it, the government is afraid of their people in France, not the other way around like here. Yes, I do.
Not on strike, but I support it.
Mm.
First post now available in 9 languages on YouTube.
Mm.
English, 36 trillion. French, le FMI, German.
This protest is the union protest. Major unions were protesting Macron, which is a Satanist and everything else. He is awful. He part of the Illuminati. One thing about it, the government is afraid of the people in France, not the other way around like here. They was getting it in, them trade unions.
The government needs to understand that we are fed up with austerity, that there are real measures that need to be taken to save France, but these aren't the ones that need to be taken against workers. These are measures that need to be taken at the government level and the savings that need to be made. Emmanuel Macron, to escape this dynamic, told himself, well, let's change up the casting, let's switch prime ministers. But we are not stupid.
Right.
We are not fools. What we want is a change in policies.
Right.
Mr. Lecornu told himself, well, for this budget to pass, I will remove the 2 holidays, removal of 2 public holidays in budget proposal, because it's true that this measure was provocative. Well, the math isn't right. What we want is for this entire budget to be buried and the repeal of the pensions reform. We will not be blinded by cosmetic changes. What we want is to finally stop with these policies in the service of the wealthiest. There is a tax injustice because, today, the people who have the greatest fortunes are taxed much less in proportion than the everyday people who go to work for these large companies. Precisely. We know that billionaires have seen their capital grow almost 14 times since 1996.
Facts.
You can clearly see that today. A few people are getting richer, but on the other hand, what we see at the same time is that, in France, the working class is getting poorer.
That's right. Same thing happening here. Amen. Same thing happening here. Same thing happening here. Rich get richer, the poor get poorer. They tried to mess with the pensions and they acted a fool. Oh, excuse me. Damn. Let me go back. They tried to go after them people pensions and they cut a fool. They union and look, they was in solidarity because did none of them go to work. You hear me? Mm-mm. They took the whole day off and they strike the whole day. They struck against the spending cuts, pension reforms, teachers, transit workers, healthcare staff, and students joined the nationwide action disrupting schools, trains, and roads. Unions demand higher taxes on the wealthy and call out growing tax injustice, while police deploy 80,000 officers to manage clashes. Prime Minister Lecornu pledges dialogue, but public anger and a fractured parliament make this a critical test for Macron. Unions mobilizing against President Emmanuel Macron's proposed spending cuts. Teachers, train drivers, healthcare staff, and pharmacists walked off their jobs while students blocked dozens of high schools, paralyzing parts of the country. Unions are demanding higher taxes on the wealthy, protection of public services, and a reversal of pension reforms that raise the retirement age. The CGT union claimed nearly 1 million people took part in demonstrations. 1 million. Would turn out at around half that. Emmanuel Macron, to escape this dynamic, told himself, well, let's change up the casting, let's switch prime ministers. But we are not stupid. We are not fools. What we want is a change in policies. Mr. McCartney told himself, well, for this budget to pass, I will remove the two holidays, removal of two public holidays and budget proposal, because it's true that this measure was provocative. Well, the math isn't right. What we want is for this entire budget to be buried and the repeal of the pensions reform. We will not be blinded by cosmetic changes. What we want is to finally stop with these policies in the service of the wealthiest. The strikes disrupted schools and public transport in Paris. Almost half of primary school teachers joined the walkout. Metro and regional train services were heavily curtailed while demonstrators blocked roads in several cities. We organized a picket line at 3:30 GMT this morning to denounce the government's contempt for workers. Because in fact, workers are currently so despised by this government and by Mr. President Macron that in fact it can't continue like this. It's contempt for public services. It's contempt for hospital workers. It's contempt for RATP, Paris Public Transport workers, for SNCF, French National Railway Company workers. As soon as you're a worker in France, in fact, you're despised. In Marseille, thousands marched from Old Port chanting anti-austerity slogans and singing protest anthems. Workers accused the government of imposing sacrifices on ordinary citizens while shielding the wealthy. The government needs to understand that we are fed up with austerity, that there are real measures that need to be taken to save France, but these aren't the ones that need to be taken against workers. These are measures that need to be taken at the government level and the savings that need to be made. Unions also highlighted what they call tax injustice, pointing to soaring billionaire wealth while average household struggles with stagnant wages. There is a tax injustice because today the people who have the greatest fortunes are taxed much less in proportion than facts. Facts. Same thing here. Same thing here. But we don't do this shit here. 14 times since 1996. You can clearly see that today. A few people are getting richer, but on the other hand, what we see at the same time is that in France, the working class is getting poorer. In Paris, clashes broke out as black-clad protesters threw bottles and stones, prompting police to respond with tear gas. More than 180 people were arrested across the country. Yes, of course, I support them. Striking workers. I'm not on strike, but I support it. Prime Minister Sebastian Lecornu, still assembling his government after his predecessor's ouster, pledged to meet union leaders in the coming days. But he faces pressure from both protesters demanding fairness and investors worried about France's soaring deficit, nearly double the EU limit. For unions, Thursday's strike was a warning. They vowed continued mobilization unless Macron's government abandons austerity plans and delivers what they call a socially just budget. As Parliament remains fractured and public anger grows, Macron's government faces one of its toughest domestic tests yet. Well, that's how you do it. That's how you do it. Hair's always erupting. My air ain't coming on. This how you do it when the union strike in pairs. They had to deploy 80,000 police to disrupt this crowd of these union workers striking. Yeah, I'll be right back. I gotta go to the back. All right, I'm back. Well, that's how you do a union strike, I guess. All right. I can delete this. Let me delete this. Oh shit. But that's how you do it. Let me go. Let me see. I'm gonna be done with here. Let me go to France real quick because I got stuff. Oh, I can search. So I can stay on topic. We ain't heard nothing about him. Let me type it in. Oh, here we go. Oh, that's gonna be a totally new. Okay, this is gonna be totally different. Let me just do this one. Oh, you know what? I can delete this. 'Cause I just did that. Like, share, subscribe, leave a comment. I'm on. Well, you know what? Nope, I'm gonna show something else. Witnessing the French government collapsing in front of our eyes in 20. Nope, nope, that's gonna be a different topic. Okay, I'm gonna come back with part two on France. Let me see. I might
What
get into
happens
this.
when a globalist president who lectures the world about democracy can't even keep his own government together for 9 months?
Okay,
we just
this
got
is
our
it.
answer in the nation of France and the absolutely
This
spectacular
is Dr.
fall
Steve
of
Turley.
the feckless president Emmanuel Macron. Stick with me to the very end of this video because we're going to see that Macron's demise has been in the works for months now, all as his nation has been quietly imploding, with even French hospitals preparing for an inevitable civil war. What happened today isn't just another government shuffle, it's the beginning of the end for European globalism.
Facts.
We know it. Hey gang, it's me, Dr. Steve, your patron professor, here to help you make sense of the madness as the far left desperately tries to stop the unstoppable rise of a new conservative age that you are making happen all over the world. He thought he could pressure Parliament into supporting his austerity measures of 44 billion euros in spending cuts, eliminating 2 public holidays,
Facts.
government spending. Basically, France is in a debt crisis, as is pretty much all of Europe at this point, and Macron has simply never been able to bring the debt under control. So this hand-picked prime minister, Bayrou, was trying to force the French Assembly's hand into voting for this. Bayrou's strategy was based on the belief that when faced with the stark choice between the government's survival and France's fiscal collapse, pragmatic lawmakers would choose stability over politics. So he had hoped to pressure Parliament into accepting painful but necessary reforms by framing the vote as a choice between fiscal responsibility and a collapsed government. And in one of the most dramatic political acts imaginable, virtually the whole of the parliament united to destroy this guy.
Facts.
And both the far left, the wacky wokey.
Yes, they did.
They joined forces with the National Rally, the MAGA party there, the French First Party there, or France First Party. They all united, came together for one purpose, and it was to get rid of another Macron puppet. And so, in this decisive vote, the French National Assembly overwhelmingly rejected Bayrou in the confidence motion, and now France is without a functioning government. They have to have a seated prime minister to do anything. And Macron does not have a lot of choices here. He can try to find a fit prime minister in just 2 years, right? They either get rejected outright or they get rejected within months. And no matter who he picks, the makeup right now as we speak, the partisan makeup of the French parliament isn't going to change.
Facts.
And the irony is that Macron only has himself to blame for that current partisan makeup. Remember, When they had their national elections last summer, okay, a year ago, the France First Party National Rally was supposed to win in a blowout. All the polls showed that National Rally was in the lead among all the various parties running. But then Macron got 200 of his assemblymen from his party to back out and endorse the candidate from the far left New Popular Front. And this is just a coalition of far left Marxist socialists, basically.
Right, come on.
But Macron recognized that his candidates from his party were only stealing votes from those far left candidates, and then that split, that divide and conquer ended up empowering National Rally. So Macron sabotaged National Rally. They still did amazing. They got their best results ever last summer. They stormed Parliament for sure, but they fell short, far short of where they should have come in. And they certainly didn't come in first. New Popular Front came in first, slightly, because they basically got combined with Macron's party when all said and done. But they didn't get a majority either. So you got a hung parliament. You got a dysfunctional parliament. There was no outright majority. And again, there should have been, all the polls showed that National Rally would be the majority party in parliament. But because of Macron's sabotage, now he's stuck with a dysfunctional parliament that can't pass anything and isn't satisfied with any prime minister that Macron nominates, because both National Rally and the New Popular Front hate Macron. That was the devil's bargain last summer.
Mm-hmm.
Both the far left and the populist right hated his guts. But because he's a globalist, who did he go with? Of course, he went with the far left. Globalists are leftists. And so now he's just reaping the hostility that he himself sowed last summer. So now there are calls.
That's right, Christopher.
Parliament, which he can
That's right.
He did that last summer, and hold new elections. And wait until you see the polls. If you thought National Rally was popular last year, you ain't seen nothing yet. If not now, when? If you've been waiting for the right time to rise up, it's here. It's now. And it won't last long. My America Awakened Masterclass is open for registrations.
I love him.
Now commands a staggering 32% support, their highest level ever recorded. Now, again, in a multi-party parliament system, 30% is awesome. That's what you're looking for. That's the golden goose. That's the golden number.
Well, no, we're getting back to
35% support with a minimum 6-point gain, while the left-wing coalition has crashed by 7 points to just 21%. And Macron's party's dropped 3 points to just 18%. This is part of the 538 analysis. So at this trajectory, political analysts are warning that only a desperate, left globalist grand coalition could prevent the National Rally from taking power. But we're learning precisely what happens when they do that. The French Parliament implodes. The personal popularity numbers tell an even more remarkable story. Both Marine Le Pen and Jordan Bardella, he's very young, and he's positioned himself as the party's 2027 presidential candidate after the French government basically started weaponizing the legal system against Le Pen in a manner comparable to what they were doing to Trump here in the States.
right.
They each enjoy 36 to 40% favorable ratings from French voters, which far exceeds the low teens that Macron finds himself in. Again, in multi-party systems, getting anything 30% and above is considered very, very good. Macron's approval is cratered. It's now at 15%. That was a 6-point drop. It represented a 6-point drop in July alone. When almost 9 in 10 of your own citizens have lost faith in you, that's not a rough patch. that's a political death spiral. So, needless to say, the calls for Macron's resignation are growing by the hour.
Facts.
But many are pointing
As
out
they
that
should, but he's still in power.
So pronounced right now. The nation is so divided that there really is no political solution in all of this. You have the globalists and both their center-left and center-right outworking. You got the growing far left, and you've got the France First National Rally. And things are so bitter right now that there are reports that regional health authorities are instructing hospitals to prepare for a major military engagement by March of 2026. Now, since there are no specifics to what they're talking about, which major military engagement they're referring to, some, of course, are surmising that this is about France getting involved in Ukraine and taking on Russia. But others are speculating this may indeed involve nothing less than a full-fledged civil war getting fought in the streets of Paris and other French cities throughout the country. I mean, we'll have to see. But there's no question France's government has collapsed. Macron is indeed on the brink.
Yep.
What happens next may decide the fate of Europe for the next generation.
Like, share, subscribe, leave a comment, hit that like button.